Hey, what is up, my Trekkie friends? It is I, Stu Jackson, here from Hailing Frequencies with a very, very special video for you today. I'm really excited because I recently got to sit down with the star of the fan film Fallen Heroes, Marcus Churchill. Now, we talked about all sorts of things. We talked about what it's like to work on a Star Trek fan film. We talked about the character himself, Sam Harriman, and we even spoke a little bit about what it's like for him as an actor in life in general. I thought it was a really interesting and enjoyable chat. I hope you do too. I'm going to be putting links to the Fallen Heroes video that you can watch for free on YouTube down below. I'll be putting Marcus's Twitter handle down so that you can follow him on the social medias, and I'll also be putting the Indiegogo profile for Samuel Cockings, who is the man behind these fan films, so that you can support him when he has a future project if you so wish. But any questions you have for me, for Marcus, about the production itself, do put them in the comments below, because I promise you I do read each and every single comment. So do let us know if you've got any questions and we'll do our best to answer them. But in the meantime, enjoy this interview with Marcus Churchill. Marcus Churchill, star of Fallen Heroes, the Star Trek fan film. How are you doing?
Well, good. I'm really good. Thank you very much. Yeah. It's good to see you again. It's been a little while.
It has, hasn't it? I think the last time we spoke was for Aliens Explored, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And do you know what I realised? So when we met obviously on the set of Wuthering Heights. I might even show the viewers a little clip of that.
He is. Came back these past 2 months now.
And I must say it, you need to be mindful of Heathcliff.
And what must I mind about Heathcliff?
Wow. What love have you ever had for each other? I mean, why is he even here?
The lands are now nearly all mortgaged to him. He's your lodger, and he hates you for...
For business with your father's will.
Aye, for that. And for that I could have hanged. And I never got payment. Your sister married Edgar Linton.
Aye, she did. And do you know what finally sent her down the aisle? And Arkwright told her that I would like us not drink myself to death. And then she'd be at your mercy, since everything would pass to Ayrton and you'd stand as guardian for him. Oh, she couldn't marry him quick enough then. No moping over Heathcliff then.
No, well, he's got his sights on Isabella Linton now. You were seen walking in the Great Park yesterday and the night before.
Aye, and there's a fine filly.
Aye, another young lady that you're going to be unlucky with, eh, Green?
And I did pay you, Green. I gave you that land the other side of the beck. Besides, he doesn't care, he knows. Turns out my father showed him his will before he died. He knows that one on the back of the fire, and you gave me the older one from before he came.
Keep your bloody voice down, Hindley.
Christ. It's all hope he takes young Miss Linton down to London, and they live in wedded bliss down there.
You think he's going to do that, do you? With Cathy at Thrushcross Grange? He's come back for a reckoning. And one of us will have one.
But I did realise that was 7 years ago.
Was it? Oh, goodness me. That is a long time
That
ago.
is shocking, isn't it? I need new material for my showreel, obviously. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about Fallen Heroes, which was released not that long ago, only a couple of weeks ago, was it?
It was the end of... no, it was only about a week ago, I think.
a week ago.
Yeah, possibly
Fantastic.
about that, something like that. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So, I mean, tell everyone what Fallen Heroes is all about.
Fallen Heroes is it's a Star Trek documentary, for want of a better expression. It's not an actual documentary, but it's not a mockumentary either, if you know what I mean. It's an interview with a character called Sam Harriman, played by me, and he's being interviewed about the events of surrounding the movie Generations, which, as I'm aware, is not the most revered of all the Next Generation movies. But this gives us sort of a lower decks perspective of what went on during those events, and the source of separation and the crashing on Viridian 3.
Viridian 3,
Viridian 3 or
yes.
Viridian 4, one of something like that. Yeah, yeah. It tells that Sam Harriman he's an ensign and he works with Geordie LaForge, and it tells the story and the events from his point of view from the lower decks. So it rounds the story, it fills the story out a little bit more, gives it a bit more depth than what you see in the film.
It felt watching it almost like a kind of a mini sequel or even a bridge between Generations and First Contact. Do you think that's a fair
You think so? Yeah, because I
assessment?
think the movie itself is it on paper it should have been amazing, but it just was just a little bit flat, I think, and I think this just beefs it up a little bit. I don't know whether it's a sequel particularly, but it would make a very nice extra on a DVD, I think.
It's a good way of looking at it. A good way of
Yeah,
looking
I
at it.
think that's one of the
Um,
comments someone left on the YouTube post mentioned that, and I thought that's a really good way of describing it. Really nice way to describe it.
Excellent. So obviously, I mean, you're talking Generations. You're talking in depth about Generations. How familiar were you? Because, well, you when you got involved with Power 543 Film Fan, get my teeth in, Power 543 Fan Films. That's not easy to say. And Samuel Cockins is, of course, the brains behind the whole thing, isn't he? So when you first got involved with Samuel, how much experience of the Star Trek universe had you had at that point?
Well, I'm going to say not a huge amount. I would not describe myself as a Trekkie. I'm a sci-fi geek, most definitely, and I have a certain knowledge of Star Trek. But I mean, when we did the first film, that was way back in like 2012, 2013, something like that. And I've obviously learnt a lot along the way. But yeah, in those days, it was I'd seen a fair amount of the original series. I was familiar with Next Generation. I'd seen all the films. I'd seen all the original cast films, and I'd seen all the Next Generation films. But that's it. Um, I hadn't seen Deep Space Nine. I hadn't seen Voyager, anything like that at all. So it was all news to me. I mean, the first time I got handed a tricorder, I had no idea what I had in my hands. Not a clue. Meant nothing to me, and I know the Star Trek fans will be screaming at me for saying that. But it just I would call it a working knowledge when we
Yeah,
first started. But that's it, an
that,
awareness of Star Trek. But nothing more than that. Certainly no expert.
I've got an image in my head now of you using a tricorder upside down, like in Galaxy Quest.
Lovely, quite. I mean, I mean, Galaxy Quest. Let's face it, it's a very accurate film for sci-fi
It
fans. It really is.
really
It
is.
really is, and
It
especially when
is.
an ignoramus like me walks onto a set and it has really no idea or no appreciation of what the stuff he's getting to do. Yeah.
Casting my mind way back to when we first met, I seem to remember from your T-shirt at the time. I mean, Joe, I don't remember what I had for breakfast, so the fact I can remember this is
Yeah.
astounding. But I remember you're Whovian, aren't you?
I am, yeah, very big Hoovian, very big Hoovian. Slightly less in the last couple of years, but getting excited again for this year. But yeah, definitely lifelong,
Yes. Well, we might have to have a chat about that on a separate occasion, definitely.
most
So,
definitely, yeah.
yeah, you've been involved with Samuel on various productions now. So, what
Mm.
was it about this particular one? What was it about Fallen Heroes that kind of made you think, yeah, I got to do this?
It's well, it's the nature of the production itself, and I'm going to give away some little secrets here, but the whole thing is literally done in one take. And it's all done using an auto cue. He's going to kill me for saying this, but it's all done using an auto cue. I happen to be particularly good at sight reading. So you literally just sit there, costume, lights, cameras, couple of cameras focused in various positions, and I just literally just read through this scrolling auto cue and act it as much as I can or as best I can. If I don't like it, I'll go back and do it again. If Sam doesn't like it or he wants it differently, we'll go back and do it again. But generally, it's just one long take. And from my point of view, that's really satisfying because I don't have to learn any lines. You know, I can just sit down, and if it doesn't work, I'll do it again, and I'll do it again until I'm happy, until he's happy. And stuff like that really suits me because, especially with things like this, because I personally think I'm my own greatest critic, but I think I'm really good at doing sad stuff and emotional stuff. I'm really good at looking full on, which is it's a talent which I'll own. With the stories like this, where there's some really sad bits in it, I think it plays to my strengths really well. I don't consider myself to be an action hero type of actor or anything like that, and a lot of the time, it's a standing joke between me and Sam that he's making me say stuff. I've got no idea what I'm saying. It's all techno babble. Star Trek fans will know exactly what I'm talking about, but it's just words. It's just words. So things like this, where you're sort of telling a story and telling a narrative, really suits my style of acting much better than doing the sort of up on your feet, running around a starship type thing. So it's the sort of stuff I really enjoy doing because you can really sort of you haven't got to worry about remembering the lines. You can just concentrate on throwing yourself into the story more.
It's an interesting take, that, and I feel as actors, so coming through the pandemic and the way that's changed the industry massively in the way we audition.
Yeah.
Doing self-tapes at home has made me far better at auto cue now.
Yeah,
Having
exactly,
my own system, it really has changed so much. So speaking about changing things, obviously, I mean, Samuel absolutely does his research. He's obviously a huge Trekkie.
He's
No
got
two
an
ways about it.
encyclopedic knowledge of the whole thing. And he just writes this stuff down. I don't think he researches it. He just knows it off the top of his head. It's unbelievable the amount of stuff he knows.
Well, I mean, watching Fallen Heroes, it adheres to canon all the way through. But do you feel it brings anything other? I mean, obviously, it brings a new perspective, as you mentioned. But does it bring anything to the story that perhaps wasn't in the original generations? Or
I think he's, from what I can pick up on, because again, I'm not an expert. And he made me watch the film before we did the filming anyway. But I think the salvaging of the saucer, I don't think that was ever mentioned in the film. I could be wrong. You are more than welcome to correct me, but there's a bit in Fallen Heroes where they talk about salvaging the saucer, and I don't think that was in the film.
we won't give away any spoilers, but when they said which ships actually salvaged it, I squealed internally a little bit.
Oh, right, okay.
Very excited. I thought that
Yeah.
was a lovely moment, and anybody who's seen it will know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
And
so
anybody
again,
who hasn't seen it yet needs to go and watch it.
for an idiot like me, that the spaceships picking stuff up, it didn't mean anything to me, unfortunately. But to fans, obviously, there's big moments, and because he's a fan, he likes to put those things in, and he likes to put the little Easter eggs in, even when he's writing stories that aren't part of established stories. When he's doing sort of standalone adventures, as it were, he'll always put in little Easter eggs, or he'll put in a ship or a mention of an event, or like a couple of times I've mentioned, that Sam, he's not a big drinker, but he's never really met Captain Picard, but he's had a drink with Riker loads of times. But who hasn't? Little sort of little Easter eggs like that that fans will get. He's very good at that.
Absolutely, and it is. Yeah, it's chock full of little moments that absolutely wonderful. Now, speaking of your character, so Ensign Sam Harriman. It's not the first time you've played Sam, is it?
It's not. No, no. It's. I mean, this is only the third or fourth time we've seen him. I have actually filmed way more that are still on in production. But the first time was in a story called Temporal Anomaly, and that's the first time we worked together. The first time he appeared, and that was that's the one we did in 2013, I think. Um, and there's been a couple of little sort of short films since then that were never supposed to have been done. There was one called oh crikey, I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically him in a shuttlecraft going back to the Enterprise just before they go to Amagosa, and it's just him just whiling away the time in the journey. And it was never supposed to be filmed, but Nim, who's one of the other actors that Sam uses, we were supposed to be filming uh, one morning, and she got COVID, so she couldn't turn up. So I spoke to him on the phone. He said, "Just come over anyway. I'll write something while you're on the way over. It's about an hour and a half drive to his house." And he wrote these couple of things. We've just filmed them, just learnt it as quickly as possible, and filmed it during the day. And that's what came out. But that's anyway. Yeah, the first one was Temporal Anomaly, which was a big story, which is possibly why it took him 8 years to finish it. But that was way back while we were all at university, a long time ago.
Wow, fantastic. So, obviously, a lot of the people watching this are going to be huge Star Trek fans. They will recognise the name Harriman. In fact, in honour of that, I shall probably put this interview out on a Tuesday. Um, is there any
Yes. See, I get that one. I get
relation?
that one.
Like Captain America. I get that reference. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I got that one.
so, yeah, so is there any relation? Yeah, there we go. Fantastic. So you got the reference about getting the reference about getting the reference. Fantastic.
Yeah, there we go. It's got meta. It's got very meta.
Oh, it really has. Yeah, so is there a relationship between Sam and Captain John?
Yes, he's John Harriman is Sam's great granddad, I believe. Again, Sam will shoot me if I've got that wrong. Um, yeah, that's there is a relation there, and in Temporal Anomaly, in the very first one, that was sort of established about family pressures and wanting to do well and things like that. But Sam as a character is not interested in the chair. He's not interested in getting the chair in the big chair. He just wants to do his best. He's into engineering, and an engineer is all he wants to be, which again was established in the first film. But yes, there is a family legacy there, and that's mentioned a lot in the subsequent films that I've done. And obviously, it's mentioned in Fallen Heroes as well because there's that direct link there between the generations and this. So yeah, it's a family history that does get explored quite a lot because John Harriman's always the guy, always known as the guy who killed Kirk, etc., etc. And he's not really. He did a lot of stuff before that film happened,
Hmm.
and would have done a lot of stuff after the film happened. So I think he's been given a bit of a bad hand in the Star Trek universe, and I think Sam Cockings uses Sam Harriman as a conduit, not an EPS conduit, but a conduit to channel that, to sort of rectify a bad rap in a way, I think.
Well, in terms of the beta canon, so books and tie-in graphic novels, things like that. Yeah, John Harriman is a brilliant captain, and yeah, that's like I say. I think that's addressed quite nicely as well. I think in Fallen Heroes, there was also mention of a family. Oh, yeah, not ledger. Journal,
A
family
journal, family
journal
journal, yes.
as well. Does that go back to John?
That is, I believe it begin or is written by John, or at least started by John Harriman. That is it's a little leather-bound book that Sam's always got. I'm reading it in the short film I mentioned earlier, the one where I'm just on the shuttle on the way to the Enterprise. I'm he's reading it in that, and it's used a few times in subsequent films, which at some point will all be finished and released. But obviously they take a long time. The filming just takes a day, but all the special effects and the music and everything else takes a long time. So, but yes, that sort of starts with John Harriman, and then sort of goes through the family, and it's Sam's way of inspiring himself or keeping himself motivated to do really well, because there's quite a family legacy there, and you'd have to be very closed off to not want to live up to that. And again, in a later film, Sam Harriman's dad appears in a later film, played by a really, really handsome actor who had to be like aged up for it. So, and he is quite successful in Starfleet as well. So, you know, Sam has got a lot of reputation to live up to, and that's obviously a vital part of his personality and his character.
Speaking of his person, so this is a very actory question now, but is there a lot of yourself in Sam?
I was thinking about this because this question comes up, and it's really hard to say because I've never been on a spaceship and I've never been in like a war, so I've got no idea. I like to think I'd step up, and I tend to keep a bit of a cool head in a crisis, which is the same thing he does. I tend to be quite calm and with it, if you know what I mean. If a crisis is happening, and that it's really hard to say because he lives a completely different life to me. I mean, I think he just wants to be happy. He wants to do what he loves to do, make a living doing that, and at some point, you know, he wants to have a family and settle down, I think. And I mean, that's me to a T. So maybe we are really similar. I don't know. It's he's done a lot more traveling than I have, but yeah, with our sort of basic hopes and dreams, I think we just want to do what we love to do and be happy doing it, I think.
Excellent. So you mentioned earlier about you know, it was quite a relatively straightforward. You know, you sit in a chair and you read an auto cue, and you know, obviously you emote, you put everything into it, but obviously you weren't playing alongside anyone. There is another cast member in it. We get the voice of Rhea Keane as the narrator, Catherine Archer, who I don't think you actually met, did you?
Never met her at all. If I may have walked past her in the street 100 times, but I've no idea. I don't know. She does the voice of the narrator slash interviewer, I think, and I think she does a lot of the computer voices in the in Sam's films as well. But that's literally all I know. I've never met her. A lot of the other guys he uses, we've sort of worked together and done two, you know, duo films and triple films, and there's a big one coming up because I call it the cocking Star Trek universe because he's got so many different characters in so many different places, and the timelines are all over. I mean, I've shot films where I'm 10 years younger than I was 10 years ago and things like that. Lots of hair dye. And that he's doing that for these other guys he's got as well. And there's a big film right at the end called Convergence where he's got all of us in the film at the same time, and we shot it over like 4 or 5 days, I think, all together, all in one room, doing all this big dialogue and stuff. And it does have this sort of, it's you know, he's almost got a franchise in his own right in a way. Obviously, he's not allowed to because of the licensing laws and stuff, but he's sort of created this own Star Trek franchise for himself. And there's lots of other people like Rhea who does the voices and stuff, but is never on set. I think she just records it. He gives her the dialogue, and she just records it at home, and then he adds it into the film. So it's a big old enterprise he's got going there.
No
really
pun
big enterprise.
intended.
I didn't even realise I said that. Idiot. Yeah, of course. So yeah, I've never met her, unfortunately. She sounds very nice.
She does, absolutely, and does a brilliant job in it. Now, speaking of the dialogue in the film, though, what's your favourite line from the whole thing, if you can remember, because you haven't got the auto cue in front of you now?
Yeah, favourite line. There's a couple of bits I really liked actually. There's a bit where Sam's talking about just seeing this little brother and sister, these little kids who are like obviously like really scared, and he, you know, he speaks to them and calms them down and helps them out a little bit, which is a really sweet thing. And I'm a dad of two, so stuff like that is just comes very naturally to sort of play that because I do it on a daily basis. But there's a really nice line where he's saying like this, you can hear like every rumble of thunder on the ship is another person dying, and there were a lot of rumbles, and that's oh god, that's a big line, to play, and it's a really nicely written line as well. So that one sticks out for sure.
Definitely, yes. So opening this up to the wider Star Trek universe, not just the Samuel verse, but the wider Star Trek universe.
Oh, he's
If
going to
you
pen
could
that
be, yeah, absolutely. Welcome to it. If you could be any Star Trek character from all the things, including the stuff you haven't seen,
God,
who would you really like to play in Star Trek?
you know, I'm watching. I'm on Picard at the moment, Series 3, and I love Captain Shaw in that. I think he's just, and I know he's not a popular character, but I love him. I think he's brilliant because he's just such a moody old workhorse, and he doesn't suffer fools, and he's not impressed by reputations and things like that. He just wants to do the job, and I kind of like that. And I think he's sort of the big grouchy guy, but I had him pegged to be the big um, sacrificial hero at some point. I thought at some point he was going to make the sacrifice play and be the hero, but he's become a bit too pally now. He's sort of got the respect for the old guys now, so I don't think that's going to happen. But I really like him. I don't know, I can't remember the name of the actor, but I think he does a brilliant job playing him.
Todd Stashwick. He does
Yeah.
an amazing job playing the
He's
role. I
just,
hate the character with a passion.
I love him
Loathe him.
because he's just so real.
And do you know what I think? I think the character's written in such a way to be polarizing like that.
Yeah,
To kind
absolutely.
of, he's a Marmite character, very much. But yeah, I think you'd make. I mean, yeah, Todd Stashwick's doing a fantastic job. I can see you as a Shaw.
I'm very good at being a
Definitely.
moody old man, so you know. It's,
Yeah. What's your
I would love that.
Chicagoan accent like?
Oh God, terrible. I had to do one for an audition once, and I spent ages and ages learning it, and it's all like at the back of the throat, and you know, soft palate, and I was all like this sort of thing, you know. And then it turned out I misread the audition, and it wasn't Chicago, it was Cleveland, so I've completely wasted my time.
Okay.
So, but you know, it happens. I do that a lot.
Fantastic. Oh
I
yeah.
get an
I
audition in,
like
I
that.
get excited, I only half read the brief, and it just all falls down on my face. So.
Now,
But yeah, no, I think sure, he's definitely my favourite at the moment. I mean, sort of classics. I don't know anyone who gets to do cool stuff, anyone who gets to be beamed or fire phasers, have a fight or something, anything like that, anything actiony. I think.
definitely. So speaking of action, obviously in Fallen Heroes, there's not a great deal of action happening in it, but of course the Samuel verse Star Trek verse is not the only sci-fi franchise you're involved with Power543, is it?
It's not, no, and there may actually be even one more than you're expecting as well.
Oh,
I've done, yeah, I filmed a few Stargate shorts with Sam, playing a character called Major Daniel Clark, and he's a bit rougher than Sam. He's a little bit more earthy, shall we say, and swears every now and again, which is a bit of a difference to Star Trek, obviously. Because I was saying that in the end of the last Picard, there was an F bomb, but you tend not to find, which I thought was hilarious. You tend not to find swearing very much in Star Trek, but yeah, he's a for me, he's a much more sort of he's a more physical character because he's a soldier. And again, doing this stuff, you get to do cool stuff. So I've travelled by Stargate. I've fired lots of different types of guns, and P60s and is it a Zat, I think, in Stargate. I'm not sure. Again, I'm really a fan. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I've done three of those. One of which is in fact a Stargate Star Trek crossover, where I get to play Harriman and Clark in the same scene.
oh, nice.
That's as much as I'm allowed to say.
That
But
sounds
there is a
exciting.
yeah, it could. If it if he can get the editing and he can get the effects and everything looking great, I think it will be a really good. And for me, it was brilliant because you get to play two different characters talking to each other. I mean, it's what could be better? Yeah, and there is already a short that's been released. That again, that was just a quick off the cuff one day sort of thing. Just went to a local park and just filmed it for a few hours, and then edited it together, and it actually looked really nice. But we've also made a foray into a certain Star Wars universe as well. And we've almost finished one film for that, and there's a couple of others that have been part filmed and are going to be finished soon as well. So, which is very nice. I'm not sure how much I can tell you about those, but I will say I'm a Jedi in that, and everyone else can stick it, quite frankly, because that's pretty much my entire life. My entire life made just to get the robes on and have a lightsaber, and I was loving life because that Star Wars I know, Star Wars I'm good with. I know my way around the Star Wars universe, but
I have to see if we can get a chat with you with my friends over at Star Wars Sessions.
Oh yeah,
it's the #1 Star Wars podcast.
I've seen a couple of screen grabs, and I think I look cool, so I can't wait to see the finished version because that's Star Wars gadgets I know, and Star Wars gadgets I find very cool. So it was.
I've
very
also
cool.
seen some photos as well because obviously I have access to your Facebook.
Well, there you go. There you go. Maybe not one more than you're expecting, but that's a lot at the moment.
No, I was going to ask what the third one is, but
yeah, no, that is the third one. Yeah. Oh, I wasn't sure who knew and who'd seen it and who hadn't, but I've, at the end of this month we're going to go and film a couple of flashback scenes for the first Star Wars short. Hopefully, it should be finished pretty soon because he's done a lot of the effects and he's done a lot of the editing, and the models, the 3D models are being made at the moment. And then I don't really know how that sort of the CGI stuff works, but that's all being done at the moment. So hopefully that'll be out pretty soon, and I'm very excited to see that one. Very excited.
Absolutely. Any plans? Do you think Samuel for Samuel doing a Doctor Who?
Do you know, he's always got plans for something. His brain works at such a fast rate that he's already planned the next project before he's finished, like 3 before that. Which is no exaggeration. He's always, even when I'm there filming, he's like, "What about if we do this one next?" I'm like, "Just finish this first, and then we can worry about the next." And he has mentioned doing Doctor Who stuff, but it's more about having the money to do it and budgets and stuff. With Star Trek, there's a lot of fans out there, and he'll do an Indiegogo, like once a year to get some funds so he can make the films and make them look good. And there's a big fan base out there that will support that. And the same with Star Wars, there's a big fan base that will support that. The Doctor Who fan base, I don't think is quite as extensive. And if you tried to do an Indiegogo for that, I don't think it would be hugely successful. I don't think that would generate a lot of cash. So it's something that would have to be done on a budget. And I'm a big Whovian, and if I was going to do it, I wouldn't want it to be done on a budget. And that's no offense to him. We've had the chat about it. And if I was going to be involved in it, I'd want it to look really, really good because it's important to me. It's special to me.
Yeah.
It's something I've grown up with, and it's my favourite show, and it's been a big part of my life. So I wouldn't want to be part of something that wasn't amazing. And you've got to have money to do amazing, unfortunately.
This is very true, and better to do it properly.
We have spoken about it. We've definitely spoken about it, and he's always got stuff bubbling away in his brain. He's probably watching this right now and going, probably thought of at least 3 new story arcs for Harriman at least while watching this. But yeah, Doctor Who, we'll have to see. It'd have to be really good, I think, for me to want to do it. He's always enthusiastic anyway about anything he does. So
excellent. Now we've talked a lot about you as an actor playing other roles. I'm going to switch it now. If somebody was going to play the movie of your life story, who would it be?
Wow, it'd be a very boring movie. I'm going to be honest. Let's start with that. Let's think. Oh, it's got to be Tennant, surely. It's got to be Tennant. He's tall and skinny, just like me. He's incredibly good looking, just like me.
He's not
Um,
tall at all.
is
He's
he not?
very short. He's.
Is he? I've never stood
I've
next to him.
performed alongside him in Broadchurch, and yeah, he's way
All
shorter
right.
than me. It's
Is
like
he?
almost a head shorter. Yeah,
Oh
he's
man, I
like,
thought he was a 6 footer at least.
no,
Oh,
no, he's like 5'4", 5'5",
uh,
something like that.
yeah. Oh,
But
so
I could
he'd be
definitely
my
see
first choice,
Tennant.
purely
Yeah,
from the.
give him a beard.
Yeah, put him on a box.
Give
Keep the
him
box out
some
of shot.
lifts in his shoes. He'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. It
Or,
works for
or
Tom
shoot him
Cruise.
the way that Tom Cruise. Yeah, the way to shoot Tom Cruise.
Yeah. God, I can't think of anyone else. He's the only one that springs to mind at the moment.
I can see Tennant. I can definitely see Tennant.
Yeah, I'm saying there's the Doctor Who connection there as well, so I'd be more than happy to have him portray me. I think.
Well, this kind of leads on to my next question, which is basically who is it that inspires you as an actor? Who do you aspire to be like as an actor?
Oh, that's a big, broad question, that one. I mean, I would say Tennant is definitely there. He's one of the because I mean I always wanted to be an actor, but I didn't get the chance to train until I was in my 30s. Um, and off the back of his tenure as the Doctor was was like really like super inspiring from my point of view. Um, and again, it made me sort of fall in love with Doctor Who again, and made me really want to be a part of that. And you get to do this as a job.
Hmm.
You get to do all this cool stuff as a job. I want to have that job, and again, I'd always wanted it, but never really had the um, the chance to do it until I was in my 30s, and that was a big catalyst. And again, Michael Sheen, I think he's an amazing actor. Um, but he's done a lot of fluff, unfortunately. I dare say, we won't even mention Twilight movies, but I think they're yeah, and I'm just trying to think of the stuff that I've always been watching. Um, See, I don't find myself very funny. I don't think I do comedy very well. So comedy actors I look up to a lot. I think they're very underrated. The other guys from the play that goes wrong and the goes wrong show,
Mm,
Peter Pan goes wrong.
yes.
I'm a huge fan of those guys. Really big fan of those guys. That's sort of stage stuff rather than film stuff. Um, yeah, no, I can't think of anyone else who's not just your sort of stereotypical. Oh yeah, they're great, such a great actor. They're such a great actor. I'm trying to think of lesser known people that I find really good. I know there is some because my brain is on fire right now.
Well, you've got Tennant, Sheen. I mean, obviously they're well known, but the cast of the play that goes wrong. I mean, literally, I've seen that twice in
Yeah,
London, and I've watched it the TV series as well. Absolutely loved it. I couldn't name a single one of them, so
I've
they
I've
count
met
as
I've met
sort
them.
of unknown. Oh, don't
Yeah,
tell them I
I've
said
met
that.
them. Met them a couple of times, and they're just so lovely and like humble. Do you know what I mean? They've had loads of
Mm,
success, and they premiered a play in Colchester at the Mercury Theatre. I met them at the press night, and I remember talking to a couple of them, and I said, it was really good, and they're like, "Yeah, are you sure? Do you think? Do you think?" And you're like, "Come on, come on, this is brilliant, and you've got such an amazing body of work, and you're still just double checking. I'm not blowing smoke up your backside," which I find really endearing. If you've got a lot of success and
mm,
you're still worried you're doing a good job, I think that shows the sign of
yes.
someone who's it still matters. The work they're doing still matters to them. Which I think
Well,
if you've got a bit of success under you, that can start to just not become important anymore.
you said it earlier, and it's something I know I'm terrible with as well. About being your own worst critic.
Yeah,
And I think if you're not, like if you're a household name, then you've constantly got people bombarding with you back. Oh my God, you're brilliant, brilliant, and it can go to your head. I mean,
yeah,
let's not mention certain people from Gavin and Stacey. But yeah, I think until you get to that point, you're still questioning everything and like, could I be better? Could I have done this better? I think that
Yeah, I mean,
keeps you
I
humble.
can't watch Temporal Anomaly because it's the first screen acting I'd ever done, and it was green screen as well. And I just think I am just so bad in it. And I'm constantly told by Sam and other people, "Oh no, it's not. No, it's good. It's really good. It's really good." For me, I can't watch it. I just can't watch it anymore because it was so long ago, and I've done a lot of the Star Trek, the Trek shorts, and other filming projects as well. And I've got a lot more experience under my sort of belt. And screen acting is a very different beast to stage acting.
Yes.
That I just see myself in Temporal Anomaly just like over expressing everything and demonstrating everything like on a massive scale, like I'm trying to reach someone at the back of a massive room. Whereas I like to think I've learnt to sort of tone it down a bit now, not to get too actory. It's turned into an actory conversation now. Sorry, everyone.
There's two actors talking is going to happen. And do you know what? I'm going to throw that into a. Would you consider? Because I absolutely agree. It's a completely different skill set, screen acting and stage acting. So, would you consider yourself a stage actor who also does screen, or a screen actor who also does stage?
Primarily, I'm an actor who will do whatever they pay him to do, but um,
Within reason, I hope.
yeah, within reason, yeah. No, I always look for the stage jobs first. Stage is where I'm most comfortable, but equally, that's probably because I've done more of it and I've shied away from doing the screen work because I'm not quite as comfortable doing it. But I realise, now as a parent, going away for 6 weeks at a time or going on a tour for months at a time, just it doesn't happen anymore. Screen work works around parenthood a lot better because you can turn up in the morning, shoot for a day, go home in the evening, and do it again tomorrow if you need to. Unless you're on a location, but it tends to be sort of short, 2 or 3 days here and there. So that the screen stuff does tend to work around my private life more now. And doing the Trek shorts means I've been in front of the camera a lot, and it's settled me down a lot, and it's made me much more comfortable in front of the camera, which helps. Because again, say you're always worried you're just being too big. I mean, even watching Fallen Heroes, I think my head's wobbling far too much. I'm shaking my head a lot, and I'm noticing it all the time. Whereas, a casual viewer probably is concentrating more on the dialogue and the CGI and things, and I'm just watching me going, what are you doing? Whereas if you do that on the stage, no one can see it. If you're sort of wobbling your head just a little bit on the stage, no one can see that happening. It's too small.
Yeah.
So yeah, primarily stage, I think, but needs to do more screen.
I mean, you are great at both, I've got to say. Having seen you do
You're
both,
very kind.
I do know you're great. You were fantastic in Abigail's Party, of course.
Oh yes, yeah, that was brilliant. Brilliant show.
That was really good. And everyone can see you brilliant on screen as well, watching this. So, I only got a couple more quick questions for you. So the penultimate one, right? I want you to imagine I'm Q. I'm going to snap my fingers and put you playing the perfect role in any play, any film, anything you like. What you wishing for?
I mean, you probably know that I'm going to say this, but it's got to be the Doctor, hasn't it? It's got to be the Doctor in Doctor Who. That's, for me, is the ultimate part. That, again, the want to play that part is a big reason why I went off and trained. I mean, let's be honest, that ship has definitely sailed now for a white, middle-aged, middle class, shall we say, man. It's that actor is never going to play that part anymore, I don't think, and that's fine. That's not a gripe, by the way. It's just the way it's the way the industry's gone, and it's totally fine as long as whoever's playing the part does a good job. I don't really care who they are, or what they look like. But yeah, it's always been the Doctor for me. But now I think I would settle for just being part of that universe. I think a guest role in an episode, or a villain or something like that. Maybe even a new incarnation of the Master. You never know. That could be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
You never know. But yeah, I think that's the ultimate role on screen anyway. On stage, not a clue, not a clue.
Okay. There
There's
isn't like
far too many.
one
Maybe in a
dream play, a Shakespeare or anything like that.
yes, yeah. Benedict in Much Ado About Nothing is a role I've always wanted. When I was younger, Seymour in Little Shop of Horrors, but again, I'm far too old for that now. So that was always a dream role.
Never
You
say never.
the thing with theatre, I find theatre much broader than screen. Even though you've got all the streaming services now, and you've got all these different series and different shows and films being made, I find theatre being to be way broader with the choice of roles because there's so many plays and theatre has been around for so long. You've got such a massive choice. But yeah, anything with the mischief guys, I think would be good. You know, anything like that would be a dream as well. So. To be honest, you
Yeah.
just regular job would be the dream. Going to work, acting every single day would be the dream.
Yeah.
That's the dream
Yeah.
role, is having a role thing.
Absolutely. I mean, earning enough to eat. Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. That's it. Pay the bills.
So to wrap this interview up, we talked a lot about Ensign Sam Harriman. Um, has his story now been told? Is that it with Fallen Heroes, or is there more to come?
I don't think that's ever going to be it until I say to Sam, "Sorry, I just don't want to do this anymore." Um, if I keep saying yes and he keeps writing them, we'll keep making them. But with all the stuff we've already shot, that say there are a lot more films with Harriman in, and it's become a bit of a standing joke that he always releases everyone else's films before mine, um, because I've done quite a few. But has got quite a story. You know, he's a lot of people see him and think, oh, he's a bit old to be an ensign. You know, why is he still an ensign? He can't be very good at his job, etc. But he's been up and down, shall we say? He has advanced and come back down again through various um, happenings and instances and decisions that he's made in his career, um, which will all come to light in future films. And again, when we get to Convergence, his story has just exploded by the time we get to Convergence. Again, I'm not sure how much I can tell you about what happens to him, but he does go through a lot. His story is far from over yet, far from over. Um,
Fantastic.
and he does end up in a weird Star Trek Stargate universe at some point as well. So he's still going. I'll just be sitting here at home, and then my phone will go off, and it'll be Sam saying, "Had this idea," and it'll just go from there. I mean, there's still two more films with one of the other characters played by Alexa Brown. She plays a character called Joan Keller, and they've got a couple of films still to either come out or be made. I'm not even sure anymore. I lose track, to be honest. Um, and there's some with other characters as well. Because he's got a lot of characters and a lot of actors. They all sort of do films together, so it's all part of the same universe, or they could just be doing solo films and things like that. So the stories are never really done. He'll always find something else to do with them, or he'll watch a film or an episode of something, and he'll be like, "I can do something around that." There's a film, one of the first films we shot with another actor, Nimran, um, where they encounter a doomsday machine, which is and that, again, he made me watch the original Star Trek episode with the doomsday machine. The doomsday is a doomsday machine, not a doomsday device.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
I'm
machine.
getting my
Yeah.
universes mixed up. Yeah. Um, so they encounter one of those in one of the episodes as well, which is nice because apparently that's a big Trekkie thing, the doomsday
Mm. Oh yeah.
machine. So I'm not going to tell you how they fare with that or how they do or don't get out of that, but that's for a future film. But yeah, he's Harriman's done a lot of stuff, and he'll always mention an EPS conduit in every film as well because that's a standing joke. So that's something to look out
Is
for in future releases. A little Easter egg.
and hopefully one day he'll take the EPS conduit and reverse the polarity of the neutron flow in it.
You tell you what, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Marcus
That's all I can say,
Churchill,
that's all I
thank
can
you
say.
so much for talking.
Oh, no,
to
thank you.
me
It's my pleasure.
today.
Absolutely my
It's
pleasure.
really, really fun. And we'll be putting links to everything we've been talking about below so people can find that and find out more about you. Brilliant.
Yes. Lovely job. Thank you so much.
Live long and prosper.